GTV's good to go? All right, thank you. Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting of April 12th, the Goffstown Select Board. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First up would be the Pledge of Allegiance. If somebody would like to join me, that's fine. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, under the right to know law, as the chair of the Goffstown Select Board, due to COVID-19 outbreak and in accordance with Governor Sununu's emergency order number 12, pursuant to the executive order 2020-04, this board is authorized to meet electronically. Please note, there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibility by video or other electronic means. The town is utilizing Microsoft Teams platform for this electronic meeting. The public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in the meeting through dialing the following telephone number: area code 603-766-5646. Again, for those who want to write down, 603-766-5646, and using the participation code of 785645, followed by the pound sign. Providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. The town previously gave notice to the public of how to access the meeting using the available telephone number with the posted agenda, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there is a problem with access. If anybody has a problem with telephone access, please call area code 603-384-3624. Adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event that the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled at that time. Please note that all votes that are taken during the meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance, which each member states their presence. Also, please state whether there's anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. And I think we'll start with Collis.
Collis Adams present. There is no one with me in the room at this time.
Mark?
Mark LeMay, present. No one in the room with me.
Jim?
Jim Gregg, here alone.
And is Chet online?
I am. Chet Bowen, I'm the only one in the room.
Thank you. First up would be the acceptance and or correction of minutes from 3/22/21 public and non-public. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. We accept the 3/22/21 public and non-public minutes.
Second.
Motion by Chet, seconded by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, it's a roll call.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. Collis?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Jim?
Yes.
Chet?
Yes.
And yes for myself. We have one announcement. It's a proclamation, Town of Goffstown, whereas the Goffstown Community Garden Club is sponsoring a campaign to keep Goffstown beautiful during the week of April 18th to April 24th, 2021. And the Goffstown Community Garden Club is encouraging businesses, organizations, homeowners to pick up, clean up, and spruce up streets, lawns, parks, corners, roadways, etc., as well as around private homes throughout the community. Now, therefore, we, the Select Board, of the town of Goffstown, county of Hillsborough, state of New Hampshire, by virtue of the authority vested in us, do hereby proclaim that April 18th through the 24th, 2021, be designated as Keep Goffstown Beautiful Week throughout the town of Goffstown, New Hampshire, and urge all citizenry of the town of Goffstown to participate in efforts to pick up, clean up, spruce up all areas of the community throughout this period. We also urge all townspeople to recycle their newspapers, magazines, mixed paper, plastic, aluminum, steel, tin, cans, bottles, and corrugated cardboard by utilizing Goffstown's curbside recycling program or visiting the Goffstown Transfer Station located at 404 Elm Street. This given under our hands and seals this 12th day of April in the year of our Lord 2021. So I guess we're going to keep Goffstown beautiful. The 18th through the 24th, everybody. Derek, have you got something you want to cover for the next 10 minutes or 4 minutes?
Peter, can I
Yes,
share an
Collis.
announcement? Can I share an announcement with the board?
Oh, sure. Go right ahead, Collis, if you got an announcement.
I just wanted the members of the board and the public in general to know that recently the town completed a construction project at the Parks and Rec facility out behind the facility. As you may be aware, the town owns a parcel out there that goes down to the shore of Glen Lake. And just recently, the town completed a construction project that included the construction of granite steps. You can see it there. To provide another point of access for folks. Now, this is a carry down only or walk down only. It's not a boat ramp, but if folks want to carry down canoes or kayaks or inner tubes and that sort of thing, it does provide another access point for folks to gain access onto Glen Lake. And I want to make sure that I give a shout out to the Granite State Health and Fitness Foundation, who provided the funding for this project, because as you may know, each year they put on an event known as the Glen Lake Swim Event, and they use the Glen Lake waterfront in this area to get in and out of the lake and do their swim events. So I want to give a shout out to them and thank them for their support and let folks know that that's completed and it came out beautifully, as you can see in the photo. Thanks, Pete.
Again, Collis, could you tell everybody where it's at one more time?
Yeah, it's out behind the Parks and Rec building. If you go, there's an opportunity to park in the Parks and Rec parking lot. And if you walk, there's a little paved roadway that goes down below out behind. If you take that down and around, it'll take you right down to the granite steps that you see on your screen there.
Thank you. What a
Sure.
great job. And we want to thank them for donating the monies to do the project. So we still have a couple more minutes. Derek, is there anything you can cover?
Pete, we might want to send them a letter of thanks, appreciation.
Yeah, we could do that.
Good.
Everybody in favor of that? Collis? Yeah, you are?
Yep.
Yeah, Mark?
Yes, sir.
Chet, Jim,
Yes.
and myself, sure. So Derek, you'll handle that?
Yes, I will. We'll get that out
Thank
this
you.
week. Yep.
All right, thank you. I think it's close enough that we can open up the public comment. We have anybody on the line?
No, there's nobody on the telephone line at this time for public comment.
Okay, we are a minute early, so I don't want to let anybody not. So if somebody does pop on at Derek, would you let me know?
I will.
Okay. Next is the appointment, David Neiman, I'm sorry, David. This would be an appointment to the Conservation Commission, and David's been on there for how many years now, David?
16 years.
Only?
Yeah, only.
So would somebody like to make that a motion? Collis?
I'll make a motion. We appoint Dave Neiman to the Goffstown Conservation Commission.
I'll second that.
Oh, can I interrupt real quick? He has a 6:15 appointment to present the concept of a conservation land easement.
Okay, that's fine, but we can do his appointment first, all right?
I don't believe he's up for appointment as a member. It's just he has an appointment on the agenda.
Oh, okay, the way it
All
was
right.
rated here, I read it wrong. So,
I wasn't sure myself because I know
I
there were a
withdraw.
couple people coming up. So
I withdraw.
Okay, Derek, did you want to bring something else up?
I can go into my town administrator's report, or if you'd like, we could have Mr. Neiman start his presentation. Again, it is 6:10 now. I'm not showing anybody on the telephone line for public comment. So it's really up to you, Mr. Chair.
David, do you have anybody else that's going to be joining you, or are you doing this on your own?
Just doing it on my own.
All right, so let's go right into that. We've got a big agenda anyway. Get 5-minute head start wouldn't be bad.
Okay, I wasn't sure, Derek, were you planning on presenting the document that is in their packet? Or just everybody going along with the paper copy?
They can go along with the paper copy, and if you'd like, I'd show a picture of the plot plan if you're all right with that.
Sure. Okay, so this plot plan, which isn't in the packet that was sent to you, it's just an extra document. And actually today, this was draft because it hadn't been recorded, but as of today, it's actually been recorded as well with the at the registry. So looking at the document you got in your packet, this is to do a conservation easement on land owned by Kenneth and Gail Burns on Snook Road. There's a map. The first map in your handout is just showing the approximate location of it. The property is outlined in red. If you look at the land immediately to the south and east of it, which is a darker shade of green, that's indicating abutting conservation lands, the Fullerton and Mahoney easement and the Shost easement next to it. So this is building on to an existing area that's already protected. This is a area that's very rich in wildlife habitat. It's ranked very high in the state wildlife action plan. It also ranks at the top in the Merrimack Valley Partnership Conservation Plan. We have a lot of really important wetlands in this area. We have 2 prime wetlands in this area, and also a lot of land that drains between those primes and connects them, as well as streams feeding into them. For that reason, it was recognized by the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services for its high value, and they awarded a grant of $73,000 from the Aquatic Resource Mitigation Fund to help pay for half this project. The easement will be held by the Piscataquag Land Conservancy, as we so often partner with. On the second page of the handout, there's another map which may not make a whole lot of sense to you because it's got a whole bunch of different colors and markings, and really what that is, it was a graph that was included in the application to ARM. It's just basically spelling out all the different wetland habitat types and conditions because that's very important to them when they're looking at an area to determine the functions and values. And what it shows is that on the western boundary of the property, we're actually protecting one of our prime wetlands and the area around it. On the southern part of the boundary, we're forming a buffer to a whole series of interconnecting wetlands that eventually feed all the way over to the east and off the map, connecting to the Snook Road swamp, which was previously protected on one side of it with an ARM grant. And so this is really contributing to the protection of this whole integrated system. And that's the main reason why we were trying to preserve it, and the main reason why the state was interested in helping us with that. The pay for it, on the third page, I just showed you our itemized budget covering the easement purchase, expenses like appraisals, wetland assessments, surveys, stewardship fees, baseline data, environmental assessment. We have to do a lot of reports for an ARM grant because there's a lot of information you have to provide, which gave us a estimated budget of $146,797. which looks like actually is lower than where we thought we were going to be. We thought it was going to be 148, but some things have come in a little cheaper. And then to pay for it, we have 73,000 from the ARM grant, and then the remaining balance of approximately 74,000 will come from the Conservation Commission's Land Use Change Tax Conservation Fund. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. What I'm here to ask for is if you would consider the acceptance of the executory easement, executory interest in the easement which will be created. The easement will be held by the PLC. And if so, if we could start the hearing process, the 1441A process that you need to go through for the acceptance of the executory interest.
Peter, this is Carlos. I'm prepared to make a motion if you'll allow it. Having worked with the Burns family and David on this parcel, I'd like to make that motion.
Yeah, go ahead and make the motion. We can set it up for discussion anyway.
Yep, right. So I'd like to make a motion to initiate the RSA 41:14-A process to purchase a conservation easement on tax map 7, lot 91A on Snook Road, and for the town of Goffstown to assume the executive interest under the standard language of the conservation easement.
Second.
Any discussion, questions? I got two. David, what is the stewardship fee?
Yeah.
The stewardship fee is every project that's done. There's a stewardship fund that the land trust holds, whether it's PLC or the Forest Society, and essentially that pays for all future work in perpetuity because they're going to be inspecting the property, manage it, make sure that the easement is enforced forever, and so this helps them cover that. And for a while, the stewardship fees were really climbing up in value. We went through a phase where it was recognized nationally that land trusts needed to build these funds up. So a while back, we had had to make contributions more in line with about $10,000 per project, and so they're slowly dropping the contributions down over time as the funds get stronger.
So those fees go to the PLC.
Yes, the PLC holds that in a separate account to make
And
sure
then
there's always.
And then the project management fee of $9,400 is for,
That's the work that the PLC does, writing grant proposals, doing all their administrative work. Doing a lot of different reports and a lot of paperwork that continues on even after the easement is in place. There's annual reports that go to ARM, for example, the providers of funds.
okay. One more question. Who audits that kind of stuff?
Well, there's regular audits of PLC, by standard auditors. I'm not sure what the schedule is for most nonprofits, whether it's every other year or every 3 years, but there is a qualified standard auditor for all nonprofits these days. And the Land Trust Alliance is the national organization that sets the standards that everybody has to adhere to, so that they're in compliance with the IRS and everybody else.
All right, thank you. I don't want to think I'm questioning too much, but as it's our conservation monies that are going to pay for this, and then we're turning it over to the PLC, where they're charging fees and things. That I just was curious, but I'm okay with it. I mean, I think it's a great deal, but I just want, but if anybody has any questions, I wanted to have the answers.
Oh, absolutely.
Can I
Anybody got any other questions,
ask,
comments?
I got one that's,
Go ahead, Jim.
thank you. I think this is contiguous, going to be contiguous with two other conservation easements.
That's correct.
And my I wasn't around for the other two. I don't know anything about them, but are they under the same control as this one will be, and for the same? I assume they're all for the same purpose.
One of them, the Fullerton Mahoney easement, which lies directly underneath the Burns property, That one is under management of the same land trust, the Piscataquag Land Conservancy. And then the 177 acre Shost easement that abuts these properties to the east is under the management of the Forest Society, the Society for Protection of New Hampshire Forests.
Okay, thank you.
Peter, this is Costi. I just want to comment that the conservation easement language is pretty tight. It's pretty standard language that's used by land trust, nonprofit land trust, really across the country. It's withstood some pretty rigorous legal review, and we've been using it for quite a while, so it doesn't really deviate from that.
Thank you,
Oh.
Carlos.
Yep.
Just one other note, I had sent also to Derek in case we needed a template of typical conservation language that we start from. But since then, we've got the first draft done, or I should say the PLC's got the first draft done. And so that's available at any time, should anyone want to peruse that. Just received it this afternoon, actually.
Thank you, David. So there's a motion on the floor to proceed with this. Any other questions? I believe the motion was by Carlos. It was seconded by Chet. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call. Carlos?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Jim?
Yes,
And Chet?
Yes.
And myself as a yes. So the motion passes. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much for your time.
All right.
And those steps look great, by the way. I just saw them over the weekend at the rec center. Absolutely wonderful.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
We'll move on next. We got the police chief and DPW director and highway safety committee neighborhood 25-mile-per-hour study and discussion reference townwide speed limit. Adam on board?
I am.
And chief?
I'm here.
All right, let's go ahead. You want to speak first, chief, or Derek? Did you need to bring up anything?
No, I think we, what you have in your packet at the last meeting on March 22nd, the police chief was reporting on Highway Safety Committee and brought to the board's attention that we had two outstanding requests for neighborhood speed reductions to 25 miles an hour. Originally, this was planned to be done to look at all the neighborhoods and all the speed reductions throughout neighborhoods by DPW interns in 2020 that was impacted by the COVID pandemic. But what you have in your packet is some background information on what we found. We've provided three separate options for the board to consider and a recommendation. And I think we could either speak to that or answer any questions that the board might have.
So option one is the highway safety committee to investigate, discuss speed reduction request on a case-by-case basis. Speed reduction recommendations brought to the select board one time annually for the group. Any ordinance changes for the same public hearing. The board may wish to revisit the concept of townwide speed limit when the roadway design standards are updated. Is that what would be?
Yeah, so our recommendation is under RSA 265:63, that grants the town the authority to determine and declare an increase or a reduction in speed limits. However, it's quite clear in that RSA that those changes must be made on the basis of an engineering or traffic investigation. Historically, the Highway Safety Committee, when they have received these requests, has sent a police officer out to perform a traffic study and report back to the Highway Safety Committee. That serving as the traffic investigation that's required under RSA. The recommendation that we have for the board this evening is to consider requests on a case-by-case basis as they come in, but perhaps limit those to once a year when if you're going to go to public hearings for ordinance changes. If you were going to go and look at a town-wide speed limit or which is option C in your packet, or to use the roadway design standards that are currently in the planning board regulations. One, DPW is currently updating those roadway standards, so we would say you should wait until they update those roadway standards before we even consider that. But if you did want to consider a townwide speed limit, we would recommend that you would do it on the basis of an engineering or traffic investigation. Consulting engineering says that ranges between $10,000 and $25,000. Again, depends on the number of streets that you use in that investigation. And then you'd have the cost for any signs at any town lines or urban compact transitions. But our recommendation is right now the board or the Highway Safety Committee has 2 requests for 25 miles an hour outstanding. They would revisit those and bring a recommendation to the board, and then the board could do these once a year if we get in recommendations.
Would you recommend that we set a specific date each year to review those, say June 1st or something like that, so you don't have them coming in like October, December, January, whatever. We're going to do it once a year. I would think we would set a dead date. That way the chief or whoever could say, we review these on June 1st or something like that. Would you recommend that, Chief?
Yes, Mr. Chair. And also part of that recommendation would afford DPW the opportunity to properly budget for these signs. I think that my fear is if you look in the history, they keep coming in. We're recommending them, and I think that that's fine taking it the case by case. But if we did it that one time a year, that we could present it to everybody, and then if the board recommends them, at least Adam can then go back to his budget and say, I need 5 signs or 4 signs, and then he can budget for that and not overspend his budget line that he's already made for other projects around town. So that would be probably a good recommendation.
Peter, this is
Okay.
Collis. I would support that as well, not only from a budget standpoint, but from a planning standpoint, because then you'll know when it's coming. You can plan, allocate your resources towards it, and prepare for that deadline that would be coming up. And I would
So-
support.
Go ahead, Carlos, I'm sorry.
Just follow, I would support option A as well. You know, when you look at how many different intersections and roadway segments there are in this town, there are a lot of them. And you know, as much as we'd like to put them into a one size fits all, one size does not fit all. Every intersection and every roadway segment is unique. It's unique in its geometry. It's unique in its location within the overall roadway system. It's unique in its surrounding land uses and a whole bunch of other stuff. So you just can't make a one size fits all for this stuff. You know, doing them on a case by case basis has been working for us, and I think fairly efficiently. And I don't see a need to change it. I don't think it's prudent or wise to change it.
So,
I agree with Carlos.
go ahead, Mark. So,
No, I'm
Carlos,
just-
are you saying you would agree with the once a year type of program?
Yeah, I would agree with option A, with reviewing
Okay.
them once a year, as the chief, as you had recommended, Peter, and the chief agrees with. I agree with that.
Okay. Mark, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to echo what Collis had said. I'm in agreement with Collis. I like the plan that they have laid out, and I think for this town where we have so many different streets and intersections and areas, that I think this would work well for us.
Another thing to consider is also that it would give the police department the opportunity to go and monitor or research these, the issues, and not get slammed all the time doing it. You have some time to do it between. So, anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make that motion. So we go with
Okay.
option A, and we do it once a year, schedule it once a year.
Would you say June 1st?
Yeah, that's fine. That's
Chief,
okay.
would that work? Is that good for you?
That works for me.
Okay, we have a
I'll
motion by Collis and it was seconded by Mark.
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. Collis,
Yes,
Mark,
Yes, sir.
Jim,
Yes.
Kat,
Yes.
and myself, yes. So we'll do that on a once a year basis and we'll do June 1st as a target date.
Thank you very much.
You good with that, Derek?
Yes, that'll work. Yep, that'll work.
Next up is the DPW Director of Water Quality Management Ordinance, introduction and request for a public hearing. Good evening, Adam.
Good evening.
We're at tab 7, folks.
Okay, so tonight we've got a little bit of housekeeping with regard to our municipal separate stormwater system permit, MS4 permit. The 2017 permit required that we implement, I think end of June is our deadline here, to implement a local ordinance which gives the town the authority to regulate primarily illicit discharges, but also construction site runoffs or any poor housekeeping that we see with any development, not just development that right now goes through the planning board as part of a site plan, or if it's a residential development more than 2 units. Right now, we kind of have a donut hole where we can regulate through the development regs for those larger construction projects, and we can regulate through the zoning ordinance. There's a little bit of information in there about excavations and controlling runoff from excavations, but also our surface water, our surface water conservation district. But that only gets a little piece of the puzzle here when it comes to water quality in town and trying to comply with the Clean Water Act and our MS4 permit. So Sarah, town engineers, put together a sample ordinance, or a draft ordinance, I should say. This is sort of based on the best practices statewide that other communities that are MS4 communities anyway have put into place or are about to put into place. So we're recommending that the board send this to a public hearing, and that would give us locally the ability to, for instance, if we have a sump pump that's pumping oily contaminated water into our drainage, we can trace that back, and now we can actually, look at enforcement of a local ordinance to get some compliance if we didn't have it prior to. Kind of a timely issue. We had some people might have seen online over the weekend. Did some more investigation today. One of the local car washes in town had a site stormwater and wash water related issue. So it was brought up to fire department's attention, our attention, and the building inspector. All these kind of hands get involved on these illicit discharge type situations, and still working on the outcome of that, but definitely highlights the need, and it can happen at any time. So to have a local ordinance in place is required by a permit, but it's also just good business practice to be able to keep the water quality in town at a high level. So this will be a 2-part process. The first part now would be getting the ordinance in place through the public hearing process. And then Sarah and I are also working on water quality management standards, which would be really the more finer details about how we would manage this program, and what the definition of an illicit discharge is, and maybe all the different contaminants that would be monitored, or how they should be treated by either construction sites or just regular businesses. So the idea would be much like our excavation ordinance, and then we have our street excavation rules. The ordinance would be in place, in perpetuity, and the rules could be brought to the select board for revision if we need going forward. So we're working on the first draft of those, but the first step is to get the ordinance in place, and that allows us to develop those.
Do you have a timeline, Adam?
So we're ready to go to public hearing if you folks don't see any issues with the recommended ordinance here. And then as far as the stormwater, the water quality standards, which would then back this up for the day-to-day, our goal would be to have them ready by the time you're ready to vote on the ordinance, so you can at least see the recommended draft and say if you have any changes. So before you vote on the actual ordinance, you kind of see what the nuts and bolts of the management standards are.
So going back to what I just said, you have a timeline?
So
6 weeks, 2 months?
So it's, I think, so you've got the two, the regular ordinance situation where you've got the 2 hearings, I believe. Derek, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we need 2 on this one. So you'd have to advertise for 2 weeks, 2 weeks in between. And then I think on this type, you could vote at the second hearing night, but you might have to wait a third meeting to do a vote. So we're talking, 4 to 6, maybe 8 weeks total by the time the whole process is wrapped, once you get all your hearings done.
Right. Anybody got any questions?
I have just one, Peter.
Go ahead,
Adam,
Collis.
the car wash incident, were you able to identify what caused the discoloration of the water?
We are. Don't know if that it would be maybe like a good non-public conversation. There might be some reputational issues involved with the behavior of
I
the
just
business.
want to know if it was toxic or harmful to humans, or if it was a benign sub. I mean, it could have been food coloring. Who knows?
So it was not a St. Patrick's Day
Okay.
situation, as far as we could tell. Yes, I think we do have it nailed down. Looks like primarily car wash soap material, probably causing a little bit of an algal bloom in the stormwater system there. I can kind of get into more detail if you like on the practice leading up to how it ended up in the coming out the end of that pipe there on site, but.
Now, I'm just concerned as to whether or not it posed a risk to public health, because people are watching this, and if it doesn't, then I want to put their mind at ease.
So right now, DES was contacted. They didn't feel a need to have the spill team come out immediately and take care of it. We're in further discussion with them, though, to see if the on-site water control. They have a storm chamber system on site that is supposed to treat the normal runoff of the parking lot. In this case, the wash water from the car wash ended up there instead of the sewer system. So there's some soap material in there. So right now we're in discussion with DES to see if that needs to be flushed out. I think is probably what's going to happen. We'll force some extra water, have them force some extra water through and suck. But right now there's no indication from us or DES based on what we know that there be any, hazardous to health situation going on over there. The swale, the outfall of this pipe is actually, in this case, it's probably a good thing. It's pretty sedimented, so the water doesn't actually flow. So it's coming out of the pipe and it's just staying right there at the outlet. But we've got some rain coming up at the end of the week, so the goal is going to be to, if they've got to take care of this, have them do it before that rain comes.
Okay,
Any other
thanks.
questions?
And thanks,
Any
Peter. That's all I
questions?
had. Thanks.
I'd like to stick to what we got in front of us, which is the ordinance. Then we can talk about the other stuff when we get into new business or when Adam does his report. Is there any questions on the option of doing a public hearing on the water quality management ordinance? Somebody want to make a recommendation?
I'll make a motion that we schedule the required public hearings to adopt the water quality management ordinance, starting, Derek, is it the 26th, our next meeting?
Yes, your next meeting is scheduled for April 26th. I'll have to look at the notice requirements and where the May meetings line up, but we will get it onto your agenda as soon as it fits in with those meeting requirements.
Okay.
Thanks. I'll second that, Peter.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none. Collis,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes, sir.
Jim,
Yes.
Chet,
Yes.
and myself as a yes. Thank you, Adam. Anything
Okay,
else
thank you. I think I might be next too on your packet.
on the autos, on the
Yes. Okay, so
surplus vehicle sale?
we've
This
got
would be
a
seven-
few more.
Yes,
Oops,
this
I'm
is
sorry.
7B.
Yes, so we have a couple more vehicles that have made it through the process as far as other departments, either replacing portions of their fleet, and then we've replaced portions of ours where we were using older police cruisers. So for the spring right now, we've got 4 vehicles that are ready to go. A 2008 Ford Ranger, 2008, 2009, and a 2010 Crown Victorias. In the past, we've done a few different things. We've either sent to the White Farm in Concord, we've put some ads in the paper, done the Facebook thing. Recently, Municipbid is becoming more popular, and that's it's an online auction service, but they've also got the state of New Hampshire contract for online auctions. So I don't know if this is the first time I think I've seen that. So I don't know if that's COVID related, where they didn't want to have the White Farm auctions. They decided to jump in on this too. But we thought we'd give it a spin. It sounds, the folks that have used it so far in New Hampshire have said they've come out with some pretty good purchase prices. And of course, we could advertise locally, so it wouldn't. It's nationwide, but we could do some local advertisement too to make sure that people in town have a chance to bid on vehicles that are coming out of the town as well. There's no
Any
cost to the town.
Well, I got one question. How many Crown Vics do we have left?
So I think after this, there is, I'm probably going to get this wrong. I think there's one at Parks and Recreation. And I believe the police department, chief, correct me if I'm wrong, did you get rid of your last one or do you still have one there?
We have no more.
That's it. Okay.
So we got one.
Parks and Rec got rid of it. We have a Taurus now.
Oh, look at that. So theirs must have been one of these three then.
Okay, so we pretty much.
Yes,
gone
it was.
through the Crown Vic.
It's a beauty. It's a beauty.
Be
Sure it
careful what
is.
you say. We're going to list them for sale. They're all beauties.
Say, anybody got any questions or comments?
I've got
Peter,
one
I'll make the
here.
recommendation.
I've got one.
Oops, sorry, go ahead.
I think I know the answer, but I just want to be sure. So I assume we've exhausted our research internally to determine there's no internal reuse for any of these. I think I know the answer to that, but I want to confirm.
I don't know if I have specifically asked anybody else, but nobody's indicated they need another vehicle or not. So I guess the answer to your question is no. I did not exhaust all opportunities, but maybe operating under the assumption that we would have heard before now if somebody was short, I guess.
Okay.
And we haven't added anything to any fleet. Derek, do you know, or have we added any vehicles to anybody's department?
I
No,
think
these are-
the police chief can update us on the status of the 2020 cruisers.
We have our 2020s and we've already sent our older ones to Adam. We haven't added any new extra vehicles than what we already have allotted to us. We're just replacing ours.
Adam, you're the same?
Same. So we've had these four represent four coming in elsewhere or to DPW. So it's one in, one out.
Okay. And Fire Chief, same with you?
That's correct, Mr. Chair. No new vehicles.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So Mark, you wanted to make a motion?
I'll recommend the motion that we list the surplus vehicles for online auction and for the town as well as proposed, so that the town people, if they want a shot at them, they can have it.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Mark, seconded by Chet. Roll call vote. Collis,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes, sir.
Jim,
Yes,
and Chet,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. So we'll proceed with online auctions on that.
Great.
Anything else, Adam?
I think that's it for me for now.
You for now. Okay.
Thank you.
Derek, Town Administrator's Report?
Yes, the first item that you have at tab 8A is you have the select board committee appointments by the select board chair. I just asked you to do that before we get into committee meeting schedules.
Sure. So if everybody's got a pencil handy, I'll go through this. The Budget Committee is Mark. CIP Committee is Jim. Conservation is Collis. Economic Development Council is Chet. Historic District Commission is Mark. HR Committee is Chet. Library Trustees is Jim. I'll be doing Parks and Rec. Collis will be doing the Planning Board. Sewer Commission is Chet. Highway Safety is Mark. Joint Loss Safety Management Committee is Jim. And the Wellness Committee is Chet. Any questions? Hearing none.
Thank you very much. At your next page on 8B, you have your meeting schedule for the next 2 weeks. Sewer Commission is meeting tomorrow night at 6 p.m. remote.
I'm there.
Thank you. Thursday at 6:30 p.m., the Village Piscataquag River Pedestrian Bridge Ad Hoc will be meeting remote.
Yes. Got
I
it.
didn't have that on my list, but I'm assuming Collis is going to stay on it.
I got it.
Great, thank you. Next week, 7 p.m., the Budget Committee will be having their first meeting at 7 p.m. remote.
Yep, got it.
Wednesday of next week, 6:30 PM, the library trustees will meet remote.
I'm on it.
7 PM, Parks and Rec Commission will meet remote.
I'll be there.
And on Thursday, the 22nd, the planning board will meet remote.
Yeah, I have that. Let me check my calendar. I've got a trip to Wisconsin planned, and I'm not sure if I leave on Wednesday or Thursday, but if I can't make it, I'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Just let me know, call us. I'll
Will
cover.
do, Pete. Will do.
At your next page, 8C, you've got the consent agenda. You have employee status reports, laborer to a truck driver, which was approved at the March 22nd meeting. You have a laborer / solid waste attendants to truck driver, and that was also approved on March 22nd. You have a dispatcher resignation, firefighter to EMT to firefighter. This is a merit increase for advanced EMT and a degree differential. There are 3 separate employee status reports for police officers for successful completion of probationary period. And then you have a truck driver new hire. You have the proclamation for the Garden Club, Keep Goffstown Beautiful Week. That needs a signature of the entire board. You have rights to inter at West Lawn Expansion Cemetery, Section 3, Lot 181, Shirley Hill Cemetery, Section 3, Lot 76, Shirley Hill Cemetery, Section 3, Lot 82, West Lawn Cemetery, Section 1988, Lot 24. You have event permits for the Bartlett Elementary School Stuffed Animal Parade on Thursday, April 22nd from 1 PM to 1:30 PM with a rain date of Friday, April 23rd. And then you have the Circle National Club live band performances May 15th through November 15th on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays to be determined.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Chet, seconded by Jim. Any discussion? Quick question. Chief Sereno, are you all set with Circle National outside band?
Yes, I am. We're good.
Anything else? Anybody else? Okay, motion by Chet, seconded by Jim. We'll have a roll call. Chet?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Usually do callers first. Callers? Did you say yes, callers?
Collis, you muted.
Muted, Collis.
Sorry, yes.
I think you said yes.
I
Yeah.
did, yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Jim?
Yes.
Chet?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. I was checking with my personal secretary, and I can do the meeting, planning board meeting on the 22nd, Peter.
Okay, thank you.
At tab 8D, you have assessor's recommendations. You have reports of timber cut and timber tax warrant for the 2020 tax year recommended for map 4, lot 50, and map 5, lot 74. You have elderly exemptions recommended for map 16, lot 40, map 4, lot 87-5-23-2. And then you have map 3, lot 37C1-101. You have a veterans tax credit recommended for map 7, lot 111A-2-148, map 6, lot 87, map 6, lot 17B-45, map 4, lot 79-1, map 30, lot 12, map 21, lot 88. You have an all veterans tax credit recommended for map 35, lot 35-5. And current use assessments recommended for map 9, lot 64, map 12, lot 1, map 11, lot 26-1, and map 8, lot 58.
Motion to approve the recommended on the assessor's administration's report.
Second, Collis.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Collis. Any discussion? Roll call, Collis?
Yes?
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Jim?
Yes.
Chet?
Yes.
And myself is a yes. A motion passes.
Thank you. At tab 8E, you have an amendment to the solar array pilot payment in lieu of taxes agreement between the town and Gentle Slopes Solar North and Gentle Slopes Solar South. As the board may recall, in June of 2020, the town entered into a pilot agreement for 2 solar arrays constructed on property off of Shirley Hill Road. That pilot agreement that was entered into assumed the projects would be fully operational before April 1st, 2021. Because they were not fully operational on April 1st, 2021, the pilot is not in effect. Therefore, the assessor would be forced to tax those at the full value. So this amendment would allow us to prorate tax year 2021, starting the day that the full site becomes operational, and then we would continue the 20 years after that.
Everybody understand what this happened, what he's saying?
Yep.
Derek or Peter, how much time will they need to get up and running so that we'll be all set? Do we know that answer yet?
We don't have a definite date, but they're very close and they're working on the final checklist items with building department, fire department, and DPW. They are very close to being operational.
And that was the list that you had sent us previously, correct, Derek? Or I got a list about the fire department and DPW.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. There were I think 4 or 5 checklist items that they were finishing.
Thank you, Peter. I'm all set.
Okay. Any other questions? We'll make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the amended pilot agreement entered into by the town on June 6, 2021, adding a transitional tax year clause to prorate tax year 2021, which will be calculated based on the date the array becomes operational.
One quick correction there. There was a mistake on the way that was written.
Okay.
We entered into that agreement on 6/8 of 2020. So,
Yep. So I'll amend that 6/8/2020.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Somebody want to second that, please?
Yes, sir.
Mark seconded it, made by Chet, seconded by Mark. Roll call. Collis?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Jim?
Yes.
Chet?
Yes.
And myself is a yes. Hi, Derek.
All right, the next 2 items, I'm going to ask Danielle to speak on. She can probably explain the quarterly benefit cash out a little bit better. I know most of the board is used to seeing that request come to you, but with a new member, I'd like to give her an opportunity to explain that. And then she had also the item on 8G.
Thank you.
Welcome, Danielle.
Good evening, everyone. So the first item we have before you at tab 8F is the quarterly benefit cash out. This is the transfer that we do on the financials to reimburse the wage lines for any payments in lieu of group health insurance.
Maybe you might want to just give Jim a real quick explanation of that.
Sure.
I'm not sure if he knows it.
Yep, absolutely. So when our full-time employees have the option to come on to the town's group health insurance, if they have coverage elsewhere, and they prove that they have coverage elsewhere, perhaps through a spouse, then what they can do is take a cash out option. And depending on what group they're in, there is a weekly amount. And that weekly amount gets paid to them in their payroll, and we have to pay the associated federal taxes on it. So this transfer, as you see in the packet, takes the money out of the insurance line, which would be paying for their the employer's portion of the premium, and reimburses the wage lines and the associated expense lines for the taxes.
Okay, thank you.
Any discussion? Questions? Seeing none, motion?
I'll do it. Now that I understand it, I'll move that we approve the budget transfer request for the reallocation of $44,209.15 from insurance benefits to the various wage lines as presented.
Second.
Is that Chet?
Yep, that's Chet.
Okay, motion by Jim, seconded by Chet. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, Collis,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes, sir.
Jim,
Yes.
Chet,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. Next, Danielle?
The next item we have in front of you today is item 8G, and this is in regards to the Health Trust has sent us notification about the COBRA acknowledgement and elections. So under the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 that was adopted by Congress, there have been a few changes to COBRA, which is the continuation of health benefits. And with that, there's some specific items that the town or any member group has to abide by. With the Health Trust will be taking on those additional responsibilities that we have to meet for noticing requirements and such. However, there is one elective component to this where the board can choose whether or not to allow folks who would now be eligible for a premium assistance through the federal government to select a cheaper plan if they move on to COBRA and they are eligible for this assistance. They could opt to take a cheaper medical plan rather than continue with the plan that they were on when they were an active employee. So our recommendation is to allow this option. They would either pick the plan that they've been on or one that is of lesser value if that fits their desires.
Anybody have any questions on that?
Nope.
Pretty basic. I understand it. It has to be basic if I understand insurance.
Yeah, the rest of the items that come along with it are more complicated, but they're not optional. So the Health Trust will help us navigate those.
Thank you. Motion?
I'll make a motion to offer the plan enrollment option to assistance eligible individuals and to authorize the town administrator to sign the COBRA Premium Relief American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 Health Trust Member Group Acknowledgement and Election Form.
Do I get a second?
Yes, sir.
Mark will second. Motion by Chet, seconded by Mark. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll make the roll call. Collis?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Jim?
Yes.
Chet?
Yes.
And myself is a yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Derek, you're up again.
At tab 8H, you have 3 requests for reappointments. This is the appointment of the tax collector for a term expiring March 31st, 2022. An appointment of the deputy tax collector, again through March 31st, 2022, and an appointment of the deputy town clerk.
I'm assuming you want to take these individually, the way you have it presented.
Yes, please.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Stephanie Bowden as a tax collector for term expiring March 31st, 2022.
Second. Second.
Seconded by Jim? Was that Jim?
Yep.
Okay, motion by Collis, seconded by Jim. Any discussion? Seeing none. Collis?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Jim?
Yes.
Chet?
Yes.
And myself is a yes. Next one. Collis, you want to do this one too?
Yep, sure, I'll keep rolling. So this is a motion to appoint Deb Nikias as the deputy tax collector for a term expiring March 31st, 2022.
Second. Right behind you.
Motion by Collis, seconded by Jim. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in, Collis?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Jim?
Yes.
Chet?
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Next one.
Finally, Peter, a motion to reappoint Karen Leclerc as the deputy town clerk for a term expiring March 31st, 2022.
Second.
Motion by Collis, seconded by Jim. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. Collis?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Jim?
Yes.
Chet?
Yes.
Myself is a yes.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I'd ask that you move to tab 9. We have a scheduled public hearing for 7 p.m. this evening.
And it is 6:59, so I can read it and then we'll get started at 7. This is tied on a public hearing to accept donation of rail trail improvements on map 34, lot 171, worth $40,000. Proposed rail trail improvements are construction of 840 feet of unfinished rail trail, abutting map 34, lot 71, which has planning board approval for development based on previous rail trail projects in compliance with RSA 31:95-E. The Goffstown Select Board is conducting a public hearing to accept public input regarding the acceptance a donation of rail trail improvements by future owner, map 34, lot 171, 171L SMC Residences at Hadley Falls, LP, on April 12 at 2021 at 7 p.m. Proposed rail trail improvements are construction of approximately 840 feet of unfinished rail trail abutting map 34, lot 171, which has planning board approval for development based on previous rail trail projects. Subject donation has been an estimated value of $40,000. A vote is scheduled for this evening after the public hearing. Background, if you want me to do the background on this, I'll do it. Planning board can additionally approve the residences at Hadley Falls Development on 7/9/2020. Project includes redevelopment of the mill and construction of 2 buildings for a total of 99 dwelling units. One of the conditions of approval required the developer to upgrade 875 feet of rail trail abutting map 5, lot 60, contingent upon select board approval.
And Mr. Chair, that's actually 840 feet abutting map 34, lot 171. That should have been
Let's
changed.
change.
Yeah.
So
That was,
let's just read that again then. Let's change the numbers in here so I have this right. It's 840 feet.
yep, abutting map 34, lot 171.
34 lot 171. We'll go back to that. One of the conditions of approval require the developer to upgrade 840 feet of rail trail abutting map 34 lot 171, contingent upon select board acceptance. So I'd like to open the public hearing and accept public comment at this time.
If you're on the telephone and would like to provide public comment, if you could press *9 to identify yourself, and I will unmute your phone. Caller, if you could identify yourself and then provide the board with any public comment you'd like to.
Good evening. This is David Pierce, and I just wanted to let the board know that I am available if you want any discussion about how I derived the value of the donation set at $40,000. And if there's no questions, I'll just stand by.
Anybody have any questions of Mr. Pierce?
Yeah, Peter, I do have a question. I don't know if it's
Go right ahead,
appropriate.
Collis.
I don't know if it's appropriate here into the public hearing or if it needs to come up later when the board discusses after the public has been heard. I don't know what the procedure is.
Well, did you have an actual question for David?
I do.
Okay,
So
go-
the
I
question
would
is,
ask him that.
of the $40,000 value, it talks about some of it being labor/equipment. So my question is that town forces providing the labor and equipment, or is that an actual donation of labor and equipment?
It would be a donation of labor and equipment in addition to the donation of any material that is purchased. It's a total package.
So I just want to clarify, if I could, Peter, so that we're not talking about an in-kind donation from the town for labor and equipment costs.
That's
yes or-
correct. All of the donation is by the developer.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
So I think where Collis was headed, I always have the same question is, in the past, we've used DPW forces on some of the rail trail projects and use that as a matching fund. That is not the case here.
That was exactly my question. I think I heard the answer was no. Does not include any town equipment or any town forces.
Is that correct, David?
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you.
All of the development and the landscaping is by the developer. There's no town involvement.
Okay, I'm satisfied. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you. So anybody else on the line, Derek, on public hearing part?
No, there's nobody else on the telephone.
Well, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. I have a motion.
Motion to accept donation of 840 feet of rail trail improvement by SMC residents at Hadley Falls, LP with an appropriate value of $40,000.
I'll second that, Peter.
Okay, Mark, motion by Mark, seconded by Collis. Just one more real quick question, Derek, and you can answer me before we vote on this. Let's say SMC residents of Hadley Falls sells. They sell it to another developer, they would have to come back again? Whereas it specifically says SMC residences.
The obligation transfers. Got to.
I would say the obligation transfers. If you want, you could say that it is the value of the donated rail trail improvements per the site plan or per the site plan condition approved by the planning board by the developer of the project, rather than use SMC residents.
I'm just wondering because, those projects a lot of times get sold off and then, then there's somebody else there and it's not an agreement with that group, it's an agreement with another group. So I would prefer that myself personally, that that's the way the motion read. I don't know if anybody else agrees. Collis, what do you think?
No, I agree. That's my point. It should run with the land. May
Right,
transfer-
not necessarily,
ownership to the-
not necessarily with that particular company, but whoever does that project.
That's right. The ownership may transfer, but also so does all of the responsibilities.
That's okay. Derek, how would you word that?
I would just take out the SMC residents at Hadley Falls LP and replace that with the developer of the approved site plan on map 34, lot 171.
So, Mark, will you make that motion?
Yep.
Is that good with you?
Yes, that's fine. I have no problem. That would be with
So
the,
it's really. So
Your
it's really
second
the
okay
owner.
now?
Yeah, so it's really the owner. So it could say the current or any future owner.
Right.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Collis?
Yes.
Mark?
yes, sir.
Jim?
Yes.
Chet?
Yes.
And myself as a yes. Now we want to go back, Derek.
Yes, if we could backtrack to tab 8I. You have a volunteer nomination request for the Piscataquag River Local Advisory Committee. The request is for Goffstown resident Andy Catarat. He submitted a volunteer application seeking the recommendation from the Goffstown Select Board for reappointment to PERLAC, again, the Piscataquag River Local Advisory Committee. This would be for a term, his current term expires on May 29th, 2021, and this would be for a 3-year term.
Peter, I'll make a motion to recommend to the New Hampshire Rivers Management Advisory Committee to appoint Goffstown resident Andrew Catarat as a member of the Piscataquag River Local Advisory Committee for a 3-year term. And Andy assures me he will work to get the signs changed and correct the name on the river.
That was seconded by Chet.
Yes.
So we have a motion by Collis, seconded by Chet. Any discussion? We'll call for the roll. Collis?
Yes.
Mark,
Yes, sir.
Jim,
Yes.
Yes.
and myself is a yes.
And the last,
IJ?
yeah, the last item I have for you in the town administrator's report is 8J. This is the easements that are a result of the site plan approved by the planning board on, for the residents at Hadley Falls Development on Factory Street, again, map 34, lot 171. This includes, there are documents already signed by the owner requiring select board approval and signature. That is a turnaround easement, access and parking easement for the rail trail, temporary construction easement on the rail trail, and the East Union Street ingress and egress easement. Then there's documents signed by the owner that require select board approval, a vote this evening, but no signature. That's the drainage maintenance agreement and the sewer easement, which would be signed by the sewer commission once approved by the select board. And then there's also a termination of an old easement that's on the property as well.
Any questions?
I'll make the motion to accept the easement package detailed in select board packet for the residents at Hadley Falls Development, tax map 34, lot 171, and authorize the select board chair to sign the easement deeded as required.
Second. Colin.
That Collis?
Yep.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Collis. Is there any discussion or questions? Hearing none, we'll call for the roll. Collis?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Jim?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and myself is a yes.
So that's all I had for you in the town administrator's report.
Okay, is there any new business to come before the board? How about the action matrix?
Mr. Chair, I did have department updates on here. I guess I would ask how you want to handle these, if you just want to do this once a month moving forward.
Yeah, I would think so. There's no sense keeping these guys here all night hanging around. We'll do it tonight, but in the future, I would say let's plan like the first meeting of the month. How would that be for everybody? So
Yeah,
unless
we'll
they
make-
have something they need to come before the board.
Yeah.
But I would think, we could get them in and out too, if it doesn't matter as long, but I would say updates or unless something's important, they need to come before the board.
Yeah,
We'll
I
do
think
it the
that's
first-
I think it's a good way to do it, Peter. If they got something.
First
important,
meeting of the
just-
month, we'll do that. That way we can have what's happened in the previous month and we'll have all that. information.
Yeah,
Okay,
this is Collins. I think that works. If they've got something important, they can just put it on the agenda.
right, exactly. So I think we'll start with Chief Sereno.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and the board members again. Really, for us, everybody's safe and healthy, doing well. Two big things for department update. We have our contractor in here working on our women's locker room, so that's really good news. We're getting that done, and the other big news is just really us with the acceptance of our budget. We're moving forward with our CIP purchases for our 3 new cruisers. We have a soft order on those and just waiting for Irwin up in Laconia for the state bid to let us know when they arrive so we can start moving those and recycling our old ones over to DPW. Other than that, we're doing pretty well.
All right, Chief, thank you.
You're welcome.
You have some new guys finally went through probation and you're full staff now or almost?
On paper, we are full staff for patrol, down 1 in dispatch. Operationally, we're still down 2 because they have to go through the academy. But other than that, we're doing pretty well right now.
All right, great, thank you.
You're
Peter,
welcome.
a question for the chief after.
Go right ahead.
Chief, as far as the new cruisers when they arrive, how much changes will the light bars affect you? Do we have to buy new light bars or will they go from the current cruisers to the new cruisers? I know we had an issue with that. I'm just wondering how we've worked that out.
So, like I mentioned last year, we had the issue with the 2020s being a wider body.
Yep.
which could not accept our older light bars. So we did budget for these ones to have the wider light bars. So we're going to be buying new light bars for these ones until we get to a point where our 2020s are now being recycled, which will be in a couple of years. But I'm sure Ford will throw us another curveball as we
right.
get down that road. But yeah, so we budgeted for this in CIP, but we will be buying the new light bars for those ones.
All right. Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a question for the chief. Chief, I think we accepted a donation of the blue and white lights along the top of the building from someone. Are those
We
going to
did?
stay permanently, or what's the deal with those?
So that's been the topic of conversation around here. So Lights Up has been really good. They've basically asked us, what do we want to do with them? They should be coming out at some point and taking them down.
Okay.
We just kind of felt like they looked pretty good at night. They added a little accent, but no, they're going to come in at some point and take them down and store them for us.
Okay, that's fine. I just don't want to see lights, around the library and, the fire stations and every place else around town.
Yeah,
Thanks.
you're welcome.
Anything else for the chief? Seeing none, we'll go to fire chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hello, board again. As always, the emergency management side, as we monitor COVID-19, I'm actually happy to report Goffstown, we've had our lowest case numbers in quite a long time. We're down to 26 cases in town, which is excellent. So everybody keep doing what you've been doing. This Friday, the fire department's helping out the SAU with second dose administrations to their staff. If you remember last month, we participated in quite a big event there with giving out nearly 500 vaccines. So we'll be doing that again this Friday. And lastly, with the hazard mitigation plan that we just accepted recently, we're closing out that grant because there was a grant tied to that. And I'll be working on that this week to get our reimbursement back from the state. Fire department, where everybody's healthy. This time we have no one out on quarantine. Just a quick update. I mentioned last week about the SAFER grant that application had been put in. I was on a video conference the other day with FEMA. There were approximately 1,300 fire departments that put in those applications for the grant this year, which is definitely above average. And they expect actually to give out the grants between May and July, so that's quite a bit sooner than they originally anticipated. You may recall that we have an ambulance in our budget this year. We have a group working up, going through a design with that now. We'll come back to the board when we have a path forward on that. And finally, I just wanted to remind the public, you do need burn permits. You can come into either Station 18 or 19 and get those permits redone this year for your annual permit or just for one day. They're free of charge. If you do want to purchase one online through the divisions of forest and land, you can do that. Their processing fee did go up this year from $3 to $5.50, but you do need burn permits, and we're happy to do those for you if you come into either one of the stations. And that's all I have.
Anybody got any questions for the chief? Seeing none,
Thank you.
you're off the hook, chief. Rick, you out there? Rick Wilhelmi, are you
Yep.
still around?
Yeah, still around.
Yeah, what's going on over at Parks and Rec?
Oh, all kinds of good stuff, Let's see. As far as equipment goes, we got to fix a wheelbarrow. We have a flat tire, so we'll fix that flat tire tomorrow. No, I'm sorry.
I got it, Rick. I was chuckling.
Other than that, let's see. Programmatically, we're pretty much straight out right now. Boys and girls lacrosse is in full swing. We're registration-wise for our summer camp. Barnard Park is completely full all 8 weeks. Roy Park is almost full as well. So programmatically, we're moving forward pretty good. Things are looking good there. Following all the guidelines, the current guidelines that we have. It is interesting for our lacrosse players going town to town, and it seems like every town is managing things totally different. So you just have to be, the key word is what? Fluid. Everybody has to be fluid. So all that's going pretty good. Facility wise, Barnard Park, they finished the hydro seeding along the track. Mr. Fence will be coming in and finishing that fence project over there, so that'll be done very shortly. Sports complex, basically all the fencing, all the major fencing has been completed. We're waiting on the sports netting. That still has not even come yet. They're waiting on that. It's back ordered. In May, the beginning of May, they'll bring the shed. The shed will be installed. The pad's already there, so they'll put that in. And then we're going to start some aerating next week on that and start treating that field. All the other fields have been thatched, getting ready for fertilization and some seeding. Facility-wise, also, as you guys all know, the stairs finally went in over at the Parks and Rec. That was awesome. It was real cool. That really is a huge feature. I mean, it really, really does help. The only thing we may want to do is put, if we can, maybe some big boulders on the end of that roadway down there. There used to be a guardrail before my time. You can see the old guardrail post. I mean, the guardrail looks kind of ugly, so maybe we can just get some big boulders and kind of just place them. That way, you know, some unfortunate individual drives all the way down and goes into the lake. May not be a good idea. Other than that, we're good. We're doing good. Thank you.
Got a question for Rick, Peter, if I could.
Go right ahead,
Hey,
Paulus.
Rick, it dawned on me with those stairs. Is there any requirements, ADA requirements or anything for a handrail? I'm
Did
just
not look
curious.
at.
I'd hate to
Did
see
not
us
look.
open ourselves up for liability. Okay, thanks.
Anybody else got any questions? And Rick, you'll hook up with Adam maybe on some boulders?
Yeah, I'll figure that out because I do think that we probably have to do something there just to finish it a little bit. I mean, it's been that way for my 11 years, so. And I'm not knocking out. All right, see you, bye.
Right. Adam, you out there?
I sure am.
You're on, buddy.
All right, thank you. So everybody in the department remains healthy, knock on wood. We are still awaiting delivery of our plow trucks from last year. Expect the 1 ton first and then the 6-wheel not long behind that. They should be at the upfitter being worked on right now, but we haven't got them in hand yet. We've got the punch list items at East Dunbarton Road are being worked on last week in this, so we should be able to get that project wrapped up. Just some of the landscaping of the drainage stone around some of the slide slopes, some of the driveways that were impacted, both by the work and also us turning around because we had nowhere else to turn around. And then we've got some hydro seeding to do there. The paving plants have opened, so we anticipate being able to get into mill and fill here this spring, and then some of the overlays, hopefully by the next time we've talked maybe. The engineering department has worked with me last few weeks. We've revamped our driveway permit application packet and process a little bit, trying to make it a little easier for folks to navigate and apply, both for new driveways and also repaving and adjustments. The staffing levels are good. We've since we last met, we've got 1 employee that started, a second that as soon as his pre-screen results come back, he'll be starting, which leaves us down officially 2 positions. And hopefully after non-public tonight, we'll be awaiting a 3rd person coming in. So thank you for the support there, getting back to full staff. We've got bid openings on the 23rd, so I'll have that for our next meeting. Hopefully, both the 10-wheel truck and just the cabin chassis, though, and then the live floor trailer, which both are out to bid right now. We've had a couple accidents. Mass Road at Joffrey. Last week, somebody ran into the traffic signal pole right in front of the car wash down there and knocked it out of alignment, and the base itself is a couple inches askew and now appears to be probably loose and undermined. So we're going to have the traffic signal folks take a look at that, but we might have to get an engineer in, a structural engineer to come take a look and see if they can now certify the base of that pole. Looks like it's probably going to be a pretty hefty insurance claim for this driver because once those get knocked out of alignment, they tend to get replaced because it's hard to say what's going on subsurface now, with these concrete bases. So that might have to get reset. But then we also had the accident that made the headlines over at the roundabout with the fully loaded dump truck coming down Worthley Hill and no brakes. Amazingly, I don't think there was any impact to our infrastructure other than a little bit of pavement damage on Shirley Park Road, but that actually happened when the tow truck came to pull them out, when the excavator was working. So a little bit of pavement got chewed up there, but Shirley Park is on the 2021 road plan list anyway, so we're not going to chase after anybody for any of those minor pavement repairs. But other than that, the driver did a pretty amazing job. Hit some privately owned bushes, but missed all of our signs, missed curbing getting knocked out, missed cars, and all the rest. So I hope he bought a lottery ticket because that was a lucky wild ride he took. And then other than that, I think we're ready to hit the spring construction season running here.
Any questions for Adam? Seeing none, you're off the hook, Adam.
Okay, thanks.
Is Diane Hathaway on?
She is not. You have a written report in your packet at tab number 10.
I wasn't sure if she had come on. Everybody can read her written report.
Yep.
Anybody else that we need to speak to, Derek? How about you?
Yes, I'll just update the board that at the last meeting in March, I had advised the board that our largest HVAC unit here had shorted during one of the windstorms in March. We have been advised that that will be covered by insurance, so we're working with the vendor right now to order replacement and schedule replacement of that unit, hopefully before the AC season starts. We're also going to be bringing forward all committee reappointments to the board on a one meeting basis. We're going to try and do them all at once in May. So you'll see those coming. We've started sending out CIP items, so departments are working on those. And then finally at Town Hall, we're starting to watch the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. This was the federal COVID stimulus package. It's a $1.9 trillion stimulus bill. Unlike the CARES Act of 2020, where they gave money directly to states and had the states administer it, in this case, they're actually going to be doing a portion to states, but also to local municipalities as well. So we have a ballpark figure that approximately $1.7 million will be coming to Goffstown. This is for very specific use, but the guidance out of Treasury hasn't come out yet. So we're starting to get educated on what we can use for it. It's mostly for responding to the COVID and the economic impacts, as well as some infrastructure. And the funds will be for qualifying expenses through December 31st, 2024. So we're just trying to educate ourselves as much as possible and work with department heads to bring recommendations to the board. I don't anticipate any recommendations to the board until May or potentially June, but I did want to make you aware that we are working on that.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on. Anybody else, Derek, we need to speak with?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so I think we're up to 11I. Would that be accurate?
Yes, under old business, you had review and adoption of rules of procedure. This was tabled at your last meeting.
Did anybody have any comments or questions on the rules and procedures? Anybody review them and have any updates? Seeing none, it's recommended that we continue with the current rules and procedures and discuss any changes, which nobody seems to want. So I think we're all set with that one.
Great.
Peter, if you want a motion, I'll make a motion to readopt as we have them.
Yeah, go ahead. Why don't we do that? It's not required, but I think we'll do that.
Yeah, so I make a motion to readopt the rules of practice and procedure as we have them now.
Second.
Seconded by Chet. Motion by Collis, seconded by Chet. Roll call. Collis?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Jim?
Yes.
Yes.
And myself is a yes. So on the next item is, we've all discussed this before, coming up with an exit interview process. Derek presented us with this in our packet. Derek, did you want to cover any of this?
Yeah, I can go through it real quick. Traditionally, exit interview process are handled by HR directors or HR staff. The town of Goffstown does not have an HR director or anyone that is specifically assigned to HR. For the most part, most departments do their own hiring and their own HR with annual evaluations. And then our finance office helps with any required forms, any financial forms or any health forms. Again, I've provided you with two different options. I would suggest that if you do want to move forward with an exit interview, it would be to discuss employee pay and benefits, a repayment of any outstanding debts, like a tuition assistance, and then return of municipal owned property. There'd also be an opportunity to get any questions back from people. I would say that it's recommended that it be for full-time and part-time regular employees only. I would say for temporary employees and even those seasonal employees, I don't think it would be necessarily what the board is seeking to dedicate those staff resources. And I would say you could assign it to the town administrator, myself, or we could develop a standard form to be completed through Office 365. The only hiccup with that is we do have some departments with regular staff that may not necessarily have computer access. So that's the only difficulty there, but I think we could work around it.
I'm going to reach out to Chet, seeing that's kind of what his field is. Chet, have you reviewed this?
Yep, I looked through it all. It looks good. Derek, I do have a question for you. How much time do you think this would take out of your day if you were the one conducting these exit interviews as the only person doing it?
I think it would be, anytime one of those regular employees, whether part-time or full-time, resigns, if they give their 2 weeks notice, we would ask the department to schedule a time where they can come over and sit. I think it would take about 15 minutes, and then we could put it on bring those results to the department head. So it would be an added task, but I think it shouldn't be too complicated, between 15 minutes or 30 minutes anytime somebody resigns from service.
Okay, and that seems reasonable to you? That adding that task seems like a reasonable thing that you can accomplish?
Yeah, if that's the board's pleasure, that's what you want to do, we can make it happen.
Okay.
Would it be possible to say either you or Danielle, say if you're not around and Danielle's available, either one of you could do the procedure?
Yeah, I think we could on the case if I was away on vacation or something like that. I know Danielle's, with all the grants, Danielle's plate is overflowing. So I wouldn't want to make it a regular practice, but I think as the assistant town administrator, she would have the ability to fill in for any tasks that are assigned to me.
And would this be a written form that would come to the select board to review as to maybe changes that the select board needs to make?
So I've provided in your packet an exit interview questionnaire that Danielle threw together with off of that she was able to source some of this information. I also provided you a much simpler exit interview memo from the city of Rochester, New Hampshire. Again, theirs is a 1-page, 5 questions, real simple. Danielle's was much more detailed. If you'd like, we can provide more samples for the board or have the board determine the exact format of that exit interview form, but we think this would generate those notes during that conversation. That way, any information that's gleaned during that exit interview could be brought to the department head as well as to the select board.
Okay, anybody got any questions on it?
Mr. Chair, I just have one comment. And
Go ahead.
Derek, forgive me if I missed this. I thought what Danielle put together was thorough and really good. On the one from Rochester, the question about would you recommend to a friend that you would work for the town? If we can add a question like that to ours, if we choose to use this one, I think that's really telling. So if we can add that one to ours, that would be my only comment on it.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely add that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, it's,
Yes?
that question is included, actually. It's the third from last question on the page 3. Would you recommend the town to a friend as a place to work? Yes, without reservations, or with reservations, or no? And then a place for comments.
Yep. Thank you, Danielle. I'm sorry about just that.
So Chet, if I understand you right, you're happy with the big Danielle's form.
I am.
And that's the one I was kind of leaning towards. But I know in a lot of cases, some people would just want to do something quick and get out too. But I think the more information we can get, the better off we would be.
Yeah, Peter, this is Collis. I agree with that. I like the one Danielle did. I don't like the one from Rochester because it's more essay format. You know, when you start getting into that and people start writing, it's harder to stay focused on the issue specifically. I think the one that Danielle put together is more specific and it's easier to fill out and you can provide more consistency from one exit interview to the other.
Okay. So are you making a motion, Collis?
Peter, before we do that,
Oh, go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
sorry. I like Danielle's very much. The only thing I would like to see us add is a second page to say, do you have any further comments, suggestions, or questions that we did not cover in the interview? I mean, that way there, if they missed something, you know, we can talk about it then, or they can talk about it. I don't know if that's good, bad, or indifferent. I'd like to see that.
Now, I agree with
Danielle?
Mark. I think it's always good to have a catch-all question at the end.
That's a good one. Yeah, you're right. Catch all at the end. Do you have anything else to add, maybe?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Paragraph.
mean, we have a couple open-ended questions that would be, you know, do you have any suggestions for improvements, and a few different places, any other comments on benefits, but we can certainly add a general one at the end. That's just any other comments.
I think that would close that chapter as far as the exit interview, and I'm hoping it would work in our favor, Peter.
Okay. So can we have this ready for our next meeting, a finalized copy? You know, the draft, we got a draft now. Just put a finalized copy together with that last question. Would that be okay? And we'll talk about it in the next meeting and put it into motion.
Okay, yep, we'll add that on the April 26th agenda.
Okay. Anything else we could, on the action matrix, we had, there wasn't a whole lot on there left. Options for the police, we talked about police station, review of personnel plan and policies. That's been on here for 100 years. Where are we at on that?
I think we're doing that currently. You've got the exit interview memo in your packet this evening. Right now, the non-union employees have a survey to gauge their interest on any changes to leave policies. That will close on April 20th, and we'll bring a report of that survey to the board on April 26th. To date, we've had 44 of 54 non-union employees complete that survey, so we've got a very good response from the departments on that. I guess we can maintain that on the action matrix, but know that we are working on that and to pick away at that for future personnel plan changes at the end of summer.
Okay, thank you. Anybody got anything else? Any additions? You see the trucks, we got 2 vehicles that are down or needing work, but that's the only thing. Doesn't seem like anything really major. Anybody got anything else?
Peter, I'll make a motion to go into non-public, but.
Well, I want to have my last public, I gotta have the last,
Okay, yep.
last chance for anybody to public comment. Anybody on the line for public comment, Derek?
No, there is no one on the line for public comment.
Seeing none, go ahead, call us.
All right, I make a motion to go into non-public session under RSA 91-A:3, Roman 2, B, hiring, C, adversely affect reputation, and D, realty.
Somebody
Second.
second. Seconded by Mark. Motion by Collis, seconded by Mark to go into non-public. Roll call, Collis,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes, sir.
Jim,
Yes.
Chet,
Yes.
myself is a yes. This will conclude tonight's public portion of the meeting. We'll be going into non-public. Thank you.